that are removing themselves from those institutionalized ideas and saying, wait a minute, this isn't adding up. You've shut off upstairs from me, scaring me with ghost stories, but I want to see what's upstairs. I want to know what awaits me up there. Is there more to life than what I've been sold and what's been institutionalized and conditioned for me to believe? Gentlemen, what's going on? How many of us have ever stood on a scale after the holiday season? We were tearing it up Thanksgiving and Christmas. We look down at the scale and we're like, damn, something's not adding up. I want you to imagine this two-sided scale. On one side, we have this utopian, idealistic, optimistic outlook that's not based on any facts or reality. And then we have logic and reasoning. You would think logic and reasoning would weigh more heavily, but in today's culture, this utopian, optimistic kind of false ideology, this false way of thinking is weighing more heavily on the hearts of society. As a child, my parents had this big home, but after their children moved away from the house and they were getting older, they shut off the second story of the house because it was harder to climb up and down the stairs, and so they just kind of moved downstairs into different rooms. And to keep us from going upstairs and kind of exploring that, they had these implicit kind of undertones that it was haunted and that we should kind of stay down there, and they kind of shut it off. They had shut off the heat for upstairs to save on money, and so it was just kind of implicitly understood that we shouldn't go up there, and maybe there were some ghosts and maybe a murder had happened. And as children, we kind of ran with that and exaggerated, and we're daring people, nah, there's a ghost, and you know this probably happened and this happened. So it, for the most part, it kept us from going up there. It kept us at bay. And a few years ago, after my grandparents had passed away, my father and his siblings were trying to sell the house. And so they asked me to go upstairs, rip up some carpet. They were going to replace the flooring. And even as a grown man who could logically explain away those implicit ghost stories that had been told to us as children, I still found myself kind of at unease and looking over my shoulder, just waiting for the masked man to jump out of the closet and cut my head off. And I think that's how we become conditioned, and some of these ideas and these so-called facts are institutionalized in society to kind of keep us at bay, to keep us docile, to keep us under control. We're sold these ideas, we're sold these beliefs, and even as we grow up with some truth, some logic, some experience to begin to actually rationally explain away some of the things that we've been led to believe, we still have this uneasy feeling that maybe I'm wrong, maybe that's right. How many of us have been in that boat, or we're in that boat and we're still kind of trying to work on explaining away some of the nonsense that's held more weight on this scale when actually it's just a bunch of BS. And so I want to talk about one aspect of life that has been institutionalized and we've kind of been misled, just to kind of preface where I want to go into this or lead us into where we want to go. And that is of love, right? God, that word love. We all know it's became this institutionalized kind of idea that has become bigger than what it really is. And so love is always going to be this enduring thing. In a relationship, love, it's the most important. It will endure through all trials and tribulations. In marriage, if you only have love, if you only have the Hallmark card love, the Hollywood romance Lifetime movie love, if you have that, everything's going to be okay. You just need that rom-com love aspect to your life, right? It's become this institutionalized, bigger than life, bigger than reality, more weight on the scale idea. We're sold that, and for the most part, many of us buy into that. Love, it's this enduring thing. But if you think about it, what is love, especially in today's culture, what's the idea of it? It's this passion, right? It's this emotional characteristic. And passions aren't enduring. Think about it. Happiness, anger, all these things, they don't endure. You're not always happy. We're not always hangry. In relationships, we're not always going to have that lovey-dovey feeling. It doesn't endure, but it's been institutionalized where we almost think, God, I should love it, should be endure. This should be, the relationship should be easy. This should be easy. Love should be easy. It's this, Among other ideas, just using love as an example, how many things have been institutionalized that they should endure, that it should be this way, that it should work out? And as we grow up as men, we realize life's not that simple. It's not that easy, that it should be, that it always should work out. And so the theme of this year for this channel is to go inward and find out what's truth, what's reality. How do I decipher that false reality that have been sold and actually find my true nature? And so the question we have to ask ourselves, outside of all the things that we've been conditioned to believe, outside all the things that we've been sold, what actually will endure? And so as a man, what's going to endure? How am I going to overcome trials, tribulations? How am I going to endure heartache? How am I going to endure loss? How am I going to navigate and endure the trials of life? Right? We've been sold this idea of what it means to be successful, what it looks like to not be successful. We've been sold this, that, go this course, do this, choose this route. And it's not adding up. And we see an awakening of men that are removing themselves from those institutionalized ideas and saying, wait a minute, this isn't adding up. You've shut off upstairs from me, scaring me with ghost stories, but I want to see what's upstairs. I want to know what awaits me up there. Is there more to life than what I've been sold and what's been institutionalized and conditioned for me to believe? And I think once we go inward and begin to find out the true nature of ourselves and what it means to be man, we have this wide open territory that we can begin to explore. What's actually going to endure when life slaps me in the face? Am I buying into this idea that love's going to come rescue me? Am I buying into the idea that the government's going to always watch over me and protect me? Am I buying into these less than ideas that they've sold to the rest of the world, but I'm waking up and realizing that's just not how it is, right? There's this inward substance, this inward nature to man that if we ever begin to explore that, that's where our freedom and our sovereignty lies. Right? And I use men of our past, great men of the past. Those are the men that went inward. They knew truth. They knew logic. They weren't sold or buying into conditions from outside sources. They didn't depend upon the external. They depended upon self. And I want to see a movement towards that. Men depending on themselves. They're not buying into the ideologies. They're not buying into the institutionalized concepts, this copy and paste mold of what it means to be man or what it means to fit into society. Men were never created to fit in. Think about it. Men were those explorers, those strong, virile men that said, what can I do to carve out my own life? And that's what we want. We see a lot of men that are wanting that freedom. They're wanting their sovereignty back. And I think as we begin to see a movement towards that, maybe, just maybe, that can recourse society because men are leaders. Men are created to set that tone, to set the pace. And if we could remove ourselves from the conditions, whether imposed by corporations, government, what have you, media, remove ourselves from that. Remove ourselves from the institutionalized concepts that are no longer making sense. We begin to go upstairs and explore, and we remove that uneasy feeling of looking over our shoulders thinking that we're doing something wrong. How many of us have ever felt like this just feels wrong? Well, it's because we've been conditioned to believe that it is, right? They want to keep men docile. They want to keep you in your place. But the idea is that's never fulfilling. It's never fulfilling just to be painted into the corner. So what can we do to begin to remove ourselves, remove those fears, remove those beliefs that aren't working for us? We have to go inward and find out our true nature. What the hell do I want? What's going to make me truly happy? What's going to endure, right? We've been sold that love endures, but it's just a passion. It comes and goes. So what's deeper than this idea that I've been sold? What's deeper than the definition that they've given me that what man is supposed to look like or what a man's supposed to be? What does it look like to me? What am I supposed to do with my life? Where do I want to go? What's my direction? And we really begin to find that self-actualization, self-fulfillment of that I'm a man, this is my definition, and my subjective particular role, this is what I want to do, this is who I want to be, and I'm free myself from all the bullshit. We free ourselves from this straight line, one-size-fits-all definition of what it means to fit into society, and we begin to create kind of our own true reality derived from that inner nature of who the hell we are, right? You have a particular personality that isn't like anybody else's, so your life shouldn't exactly look like everybody else's. Who the hell are you? What do you want to be? Why do you want to be that? Is it because of the conditions of others, or is it because it truly matches your personality, your skills, your talents, your drive, your ambitions? Who the hell are you? And that's the point of this channel, man. I want to figure out who the hell I am. For too long, I've lived in following some other narratives and chasing that I have to be this, I have to be that. And at the end of the day, I don't want to be anybody else's definition of who I have to be. I want to create my own damn definition. I love you guys. Remove yourselves from the institutionalized ideas that have been limiting you. Find your path. Find out who you are. You guys will hear from me next episode.